Hello. I'd like to introduce to you the 2023 Congo Kids.
Sambo, bakala kalamba, mwana kitolo, mwana kitolo, njirampo. Come on.
Did you like the children did? This to tell you that we're passing on the torch. We have to carry on the history, and it's very important. These are Congo kids, and I was called by Mama Mbiki to join the group and direct these kids. So these are our first work we're doing. There's more to come. And we will need the participation of the community. Because when the community involved, remember we say it takes a village to raise a child. So which means we all focus on our kids and support them. Because I told the mother that what I do with them, we tape, we send it to you, you practice with the kids. Because the kids, when you get involved, they get really bumped up. Because daddy loves what I'm doing, mommy loves what I'm doing. You enhance it. You give them courage. So that's what I asked the mother that the work I'm going to do, I need your support. Then we can move on with the kids. Because the kids, their mind is like a sponge. Everything we give to them, next time they surprise you. They say, oh, what they learn that? Because they take it away. Wherever you took them, wherever they recorded, they're going to express it. So I'm going to play a little thing for you. Oh, before we go, say, Ewa, Ewa.
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 Always saying, listen. We have to listen to each other. As a community, we have a lot of problems. But you can talk over the problem together. Because it's a human problem. It's not just the animals or the trees. It's us. So if we can come together, we will have a generation of tomorrow who will embrace each other, where we can solve a problem together. Nowadays, we can't even do that. Say yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Say yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In a country where you say that you can vote, say yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to vote so we can support this guy. Give them courage, unity, the way to love one another. Say yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ewa, ewa.
Ewa, ewa.
Ewa, ewa. Yeah. Ewa, ewa.
Ewa, ewa.
Now, we're starting about, I'd like you to stand up now. Everybody, please. We're in the church now. Before we start the show, this is how we do. So we go to the right, 1, 2. 1, you're not moving that far, just like this. This is your body. 1, 2. What's the attitude? You see what I'm? See how I'm there dancing? Boom, ba ba boom. 1, 2. Just 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, like we walk on the street. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then the song go, Ewa, Ewa,
Ewa, ewa.
Ewa, Ewa.
Ewa, ewa.
Now you step, go with your clap. That's it. Ba, ba. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, and then I go, hey, Andy Ingri Yakana song when you say, Ewa, Ewa, Wabwingi Kwaya to Yinga Jo, Ewa, come on, kid, hey, Andy Ingri Yakana song when Wabwingi Kwaya to Yinga Jo, come on, church. Oh, yeah, yeah, oh, ha, oh, yeah, Wabwingi Kwaya to Yinga Jo. Oh, ya mwana bakuni mata yinga sangwe. Wabwingi Kwaya to Yinga Jo. Bravo, can we sit down now? Don't you feel better? Yeah, stretch out, stretch out. Okay, Mama Biki.
So we're going to begin the panel now. I would like for you to give a big round of applause to our 2023 Congo kids.
My name is Noah Mora. My name is Jefferson Smith.
My name is Abel Smith.
Oh, okay. This makes sense now.
This time I'd like to introduce our panel, our panelists. First we have, of course, Papa Titos. And normally you would call the store last, but in tradition we call the elder first because he's the elder. tell you, go, don't leave the stage. I'd really prefer a hard chair. Oh, I can sit with y'all, not the Dalcour's not. Thank you. Papa Titos, we've had a lot of conversations, and one of the conversations, and you just did an example of that. Before we begin that, would you tell them what happened to you when you were a child that made an indelible impression on you? You talk about it almost every day.
Well, you know, I grew up, I was born in a family of healers and musicians. You know, and they are professional in their own way. My grandpa was a leader, a drum for the what you call the possession of lemba. Lemba is a ritual of Congo. Everybody come from different clan and ethnic group, and they come there for 3 months to worship the spirit of the, what we call Mpungu, which means, it's not per se God, because God, that's a European word. We don't have that word of God like that. But it's an energy, human energy, which means combined water. We believe water is the power of all. We all come from water. So when I was a little boy, I was swelling up. So they can heal me that I have to go in the spirit house where my body is taken care by the spirit. So you spend like 4 months in this house. So I went 3 times. And every time when you come, which means it's time that the bad spirits are now there, because the men who take care of the spirit or the woman catch the spirit. Then the field of the outside world is open to you now. You're not on a harm way. So we'll take you to the river, again the water, swap all those bad energy. Now we are brand new person, the spirit, the good spirits are taking care of you. So from that point, I never been sick like to take me to the hospital since that day. I can have a headache, I had malaria, but that's it. But, and also when I was 10 years old, my great-grandpa, his name is Takinwani, and this guy came to get me to give me a gift of, everybody is who are old enough, in the European world, they would call it those 2 cults, Mason and Rosicrucian. Those who are old enough to know what I'm talking about. Those who know can you put your hands, please? Who know Rosicrucian? Everybody knows Rosicrucian? Can you say something about that, ma'am, please? Madam? Okay, Rosicrucian is from the Catholic Church, the Pope, the what they call him, the Jesuits. You can't be a Pope if you're not a Jesuit. So that's a very secret society, right? So these Rosicrucians like a Mason. Mason is for the Protestant, but that's a society. In New Orleans, they call it Madame Deveau, they call it witchcraft. But they do the same. They do witchcraft too. Mason, Rosicrucian, both of them do witchcraft. Witchcraft means good and bad. In bad, you have good. In good, you have bad. So the two go together. You make a choice. So that's the power of the dead and the living. What they call black magic, white magic, that's what they're talking about. And Rosicrucian, you go to San Jose, they have the temple there. The Mason, they are everywhere. A lot of African American are members of that.
Papa, before we move on to Luther, would you tell them who you met as a little boy?
Yes, when I was 10 years old, again, after this experience with my grandpa, I came to meet with a French radio at that time who carry a jazz program. So everybody listened to that. So it was a news that says African American coming to Congo, and all the kids were mobilized. So we go, the first airplane, the airplane used to, runway, yeah, the first one. So they have a theater there where they used to restore the airplane. That's where Satchmo came to play. So we always there. Black American, we see them in a black movie, but to see one like this, so everybody, you can see the kids, the elders, and that bunker house is not big, so they have to open all the door because it's hot. He played there, we all like this, listen here. He played 3 tunes, then he stopped. Then he gave a clinic talking about when he was a young kid, his grandmother used to tell him that they came from Congo, and he talk about Congo Square, he talk about Angola. You know, people from Congo didn't learn about Congo Square in America or Angola, now from the book, from Satchmo, because everybody was mobilized when he came. As a matter of fact, when he landed in Brazzaville, he played for the French quarter the first day. The second day, he played for us. And the third day, he crossed the Congo River to go to Kinshasa, what they call Zaire one time, right? This is the big Congo. And he played there with a band called African Jazz. And the rest is history, because they have them on a State Department, they have that movie. And this place here, Jazz Museum, I have that movie about Satchmo going to the Congo.
Thank you, Papa. Now, this is my personal, I'm so happy. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy. The programs came. Y'all clap for the programs. And clap for Megan, who makes it happen. Before I begin, I want to give a disclaimer. A lot of people, and this is my personal opinion, and I think it's right, refer to the tradition that we participate in the social and pleasure clubs as street cultures. They're, in my opinion, they are not street cultures. They are community cultural expressions. They are the empirical evidence that who and whose we are could not be bred or beaten out of us. We remembered in our deep places, in the very marrow of our bones, that we are indeed the children and grandchildren of our ancestral homeland, Africa. And as Papa Titos has said many times, we always look to our connections to West Africa, and I have also, but the Congo is the heartbeat of Africa, Central Africa, and all of that we remembered. When I was a little girl, we were talking yesterday, when I was a little girl, I can't do it now, I used to be able to roll my whole body up and down. And he was saying that was almost like a retention that I was, because I don't even know why I was doing it, why I could do it, but it was like, roll your stomach, Cherice, and I would do it. My whole body, I could do it. Can't do it now, though. But Luther, I would like you to talk about the community processions, because it's not, I don't care what anyone says, and if you've heard me say it before, I'm saying it again. You do not throw magic beans in the street and up pops a black masking Indian, up pops a brass band, up pops a social and pleasure club. If it were just street culture, it could occur anywhere in the world on a street. But these traditions are tethered to this land, to our blood, to our sweat, and our memory. So for me, they are cultural expressions that are community guarded and expressed for the world. It is our joy. It is the way that we have manifested our trauma into celebration. So with that, Luther,
I really think Kamal would be a better person to address what you just.
I was trying to go in like the order.
Okay.
Oh, so he was first. He's from the motherland, and then how you actually did processions with my father, and I
Right.
wanted you to talk about some of the stops you made.
Yeah,
And
I'd like to talk about how we met. You know, it's amazing. New Orleans is an amazing place. I was born in Chicago, so, but I'll just give you this. I came to New Orleans because I was looking for a job in Chicago with the phone company, and they said they had openings in the South. Would I be willing to relocate? They had openings in Louisiana. They said they had New Orleans, Baton Rouge, or Shreveport. I said, well, New Orleans. So when I got here, one day I was while working with the phone company. We were at the hotel, one of the hotels downtown, and I had put together a slideshow. Had Indians in it and things, photographs I had taken, and so at the end of it, this gentleman approached me. He was a waiter that day. It was Donald Harrison Sr. He said, you know, I'm a big chief of a Mardi Gras Indian tribe. I see you got Indians in your slideshow. I said, yeah, and I play drums. He said, I'm getting ready to start in the Gardens of the Flame. I need a drummer. So that's to me how New Orleans works. Like the law of attraction just really works so beautifully here, and so that's how we got started. So that's how I got started playing
I
the
wanted you to
djembe
talk
with
about
him in the
where-
Gardens of the Flame.
because, you know, I never did it with y'all, but where y'all passed by the, off Broad Street, would you explain to that?
Can't remember which.
The prison.
Huh?
The prison. The prison.
Oh, I'm trying to remember that myself.
Well, I'll tell you, because you've told it to me. Well, anyway, my father would go walking, and he would also pass by Parish Prison because he wanted to give those guys a part of something that they were familiar with and bring them some joy while they were incarcerated, and some of them, we know, wrongly incarcerated. But, you know, it is the reality of that. And as a personal note, I want you all to know that not only did my father include Luther in the group, he included other people, but he is currently in an exhibition at the Secretary of State's office in Baton Rouge because he was selected as one of 100 luminaries in this state that the state wanted to honor. And they honor him for his totality as a man, his totality as a father, his totality as a husband, his totality as a very intelligent man who won several awards from the post office for figuring out how to move the mail faster all across this country. Across this world. And in addition to all of those things, of course, he's the grandfather of and father of all of his children, and they honored him for all of that. His legacy continues. He was an avid reader, read over 40 books a year, and he had some conversations with us that I'm still trying to figure out. Like I said, his IQ was really high. They didn't even send him to the war because they wanted him to stay stateside to be able to make maps for the war. So with that, before I move on to Wesley, I just want to say that we have to look at the totality of individuals and not pick out one part. And I said this the other night at the film, so I want you to think about and know about my father's totality as a man and a husband. So Wesley, would you tell us about your innovations in the tradition?
Okay, I started with the Black Masking Indian when I moved to the 7th Ward in 1991. So for Mardi Gras 1992, at the time I was playing with the Afro-Brazilian band Casa Samba. And usually they had been playing these marching in the Zulu parade. And we didn't do it that year. So Curtis Pierre, the director, was going to give a party. So while I'm waiting for the party, I hear some Black Masking Indians in the yard. They're waiting on the big chief, so they're drumming and singing. So I had a couple of hours to kill time, so I went and got my drum. I didn't know anybody that was in that yard. I saw one friend of mine from the Desire Project. So I said, well, Pee Wee hanging with him, so let me go out there. So I started drumming in the yard. Then we went out and started up in that street. So I said, well, I'm gonna just go to the corner. Then they said they're gonna go by Tootie house. Tootie wasn't home, so then they went to the next stop looking for other Indians. So I ended up playing that whole day, that whole night. So the next event came up, which would be the Super Sunday. The big chief would send for me. He would say, go get the drummer. So then after a couple of other events, go get the drummer, that became my name with the tribe, drummer. So the little kids in the area would come and watch me fix drums, because as I was drumming, learning African drumming, I would fix my drums. So then a lot of kids would come around, practice their Indian songs. And so I ended up developing a new drum beat for the Fire chant. So then eventually, a dancer and costume maker from Senegal, West Africa, Papa Camarade, made a cowrie shell hat for me. I asked him to make me a hat to play with the black mask and Indian. And on the table in the back, I have the hat there. And so from that hat, the cowrie shell would eventually end up on the big chief suit. So he had a fire one year and wasn't gonna mask. So in 1994, I had started the drum section, where I would find different fabrics. This is the first drummer's outfit to match the chief's 1994 suit. He was celebrating his 10-year anniversary. So I made suit, I made additional drums using cowhide and goat skin and metal cans. So the year he had the fire, he wasn't gonna mask because it was too close to Mardi Gras. His house was burnt. So I set out to make 3 drummer hats. And we were just gonna play the drums without the chief masking. So I put together a drummer's hat with cowrie shell, zebra fabric, white feathers, and some white lace. Made a design, called over the chief and the master designer, Jack Robinson. Showed them how I made the first hat, showed them how to sew the shell so they could go home and work on their hat. Eventually they'll call and ask for more shells. So I got some more shells, and master designer started adding a face mask to the chief hat. Then they asked for some more zebra print fabric. So I got some fabric, they needed more shells. So within 2 weeks, they had made it a complete black mask and Indian suit for the chief, using a cowrie shell, zebra print fabric, and some white lace to make a design. From that was say about 1997. Then about 2001, the cowrie shell came back with the orange suit he had. So over the years, I've seen a cowrie shell on other Mardi Gras Indian suits, other black mask and Indian suits. I've seen it on baby doll outfits, and even on the suit for Treme, the story they did on the black mask and Indian. I saw a cowrie shell on that suit. So the Africa came to New Orleans through the dance teacher and costume designer, made me a hat. Then I made a hat when the chief had a fire. From that hat, the cowrie shell went to the big chief suit. So now the cowrie shell is a part of the black masking tradition. So the cowrie shell, the goat skin and cowhide drums gives Fayaya a unique sound. And this is something that's been going on since 1994. This is the 30th anniversary of the cowrie shell hat that Papa made for me. And 2024 will be the 30th anniversary of the Fire drum section.
Okay. Chief Dalcour isn't here. He's not feeling well, and we send love and light to him and wish him a full and speedy recovery from his little bump in the road where his health is concerned. But Chief Dalcour always talks about innovation in the tradition, and Wesley has just laid out his innovations within this tradition. I'm going to talk a little bit about my father's innovations. When my father started dressing in 1949, and he masked until 1969. And the one thing I know about my daddy is that he truly, truly loved this tradition with his whole heart. But he loved his family more. He, as he would say, doing this is in a halfway house. Either you're in or you're out. And if you're in, you have to give up two things: your money and your time. And for him, we were more important than feathers and beads. But 20 years later, he's like, okay, all y'all out of high school, you're in college, got a grandbaby, I want to have 3 generations of Harrison men, and he did that. And he also used African motifs. His first apron was a oba from ancient Benin. Now, I found out about cowrie shells really being important when I went to Ghana and Senegal. I had a Fulbright scholarship, and so when I started to dress, I think my mom said in 1991, I incorporated some of the things that I learned while I was in West Africa. Every year, my suits give a nod to one of the orishas, and that, too, was influenced by my eyes in witnessing and feeling in my deep place what I saw when I went to West Africa, and I knew that I was, in a sense, home. And our cultural expressions, I went on a boat on the Volta River, and as we were going up the stairs, there was a brass band. And I'm like, wow, that sounds a little familiar. I get to the second landing, and the boat is literally jumping. Second line, white handkerchiefs. And the funerary practices we saw there, my mother, my son, and I, that we were able to witness there, we saw similarities to the funerary rites we have here. But Chief Dalcour, if he were here, he would tell you, and I'm going to just speak on his behalf a little bit because I'm not a member of the Creole Osceolas, but they developed a unique crown. I can't tell you exactly what it's made of, but their crown is very unique. People have tried to copy it, but they haven't been able to copy it, and that's his innovation. But the size of the crowns, he was in the military. So the size of the crowns, if you are a keen observer, you will know each person's position by the size and the construction of the crown. So you'll easily be able to tell the flag boy from the spy boy, from the second chief to the big chief. And the women in his group, he also wanted to always accentuate the femininity. So the women wear tights, and their skirts, their aprons are short, and their legs are, you can see them, they have on tights. You can see them, but it's not anything that's, they're covered, they're totally covered, but you know you're looking at a woman. I also embrace that. I dress in what I call a hyper-feminine manner. I am a queen, and I stay in a queen's lane. And I'm especially happy to be a queen because I know there are queens in Africa. I'm not going to say West Africa. All over that continent, we know so little about our home. But I stay in a queen's lane, so I dress in a very hyper-feminine manner. I never want anyone for 1 second to think that I'm a man. When I remember, I always wear lipstick because Queen Barbara Sparks of the Yellow Jackets' husband, Big Chief Thomas Sparks, said that Barbara had to wear lipstick whenever she had her suit on. And she is one of my mentors. I loved her, or mentors, with my whole heart. Barbara was a gentle soul, but she was also like a general. She could tell you what to do in the sternest way with the most love and gentleness that if she told you to do it, you felt like you could go out here and conquer the world. And she encouraged me in so many ways. And because of her, I know I'm a better queen. And I'm going to always wear lipstick. And she said, red lipstick. I always wear red, but I might really, since I'm saying this now, and next year is my last year, I'm going to put on red lipstick with glitter in it. And the last thing I want to talk about for our group as far as innovation, it may not be innovation, but one of the hallmarks of our group, we have a signature patch, which is the Sankofa patch. And if you know our group, the first year children dress with us, they do not have fire. It's the continent of Africa with the Sankofa symbol. They don't have any fire. They have the continent and they have the Sankofa bird, which means to go back and know who you are and where you came from, your roots. That's why it's within the continent of Africa. And the second year, they get their fire. They get to have a flame behind their Sankofa, which means they're on their path to learning. And I wish I could have shown a little clip of the film. One thing my father said, and it's in a documentary, is that we are the guardians of the flame. The flame being our cultural heritage, our history, all of the things that make us who we are as people of African descent. And we are to guard that within this tradition and pass it on to children. That's why our groups always have children. If you have, in everything we do, we try to make it a historical document. We have an annual T-shirt, and if you were to read the back of the T-shirt, it has Young Guardians of the Flame, with, and I'm one of the wits, Maroon Queen Cherice. And by saying that, I want to share this. We call ourselves the Maroon Society as opposed to a black masking Indian group. And the reason we do that is because I want to hang my hat on my ancestors that refused to bow down to being enslaved, that found a way to self-emancipate themselves. I want to hang my hat on that. And I always say, I am not masking, I am unmasking. I am showing you who I am. For instance, I made a suit in 2016 in homage to my great-great-grandfather, Madison. Madison was stolen in 1809 and brought here in 1820 and enslaved. If I make a suit in homage to Madison, I am not masking. I am telling you who I am. It is unmasking. But it fits into the holiday because what you think you see, you're not supposed to be seeing. So when you think I'm masked, I'm really not masked. And the more, in 2024, it's my last year, the more I dress, the more I want to be me and who I am and be on the path of being an African who happened to be born in America, who was stripped of everything because some people looked at me as inhumane. And they tried to strip the humanity from my ancestors. And what I hold in my heart is my humanity. As an artist, my father said, you had to say something. You had to make commentary, social commentary, historical note, your personal history. And he had a saying, and the saying was nicey nice. My Chief Joe had a saying, you did that. And when I make my suits now, I'm making them, and I'm hearing, what I'm trying to get to is a point where I know my daddy will say nicey nice, and Joe will say, you did that. And with that, I am going to ask Papa Titos, briefly show Papa Titos. What's the time?
20 minutes.
Okay, we got short because we need to play some stuff. Yeah, well, we need to play something first. I just want you to address, and I'll, with you, how important music is in funerals, in funerary rites, how we lift up our ancestors.
Okay, everybody know that the drum, the voice, and the feeling, calling spirit. Let's talk about the dead when the person is passed. It's only the body. The spirit is with us. That's why we dance. That's why we tell this story. Certain hours in the night, on the day, people remember what she or he did. So I think that connection in African culture is the way we live to the spirit, because the person who's passed don't want you to be sad. They want you to celebrate, because as you celebrate them, they get to the strength to be free. And that connection, that's why we play music, that's why we dance, and I think that's the connection of life within a community of African world.
And we do that in our tradition, and I want to give a shout out to your chief, because when at my father's life celebration, he was in front of St. Augustine Church singing, Big Chief Donald's got a golden crown, golden crown, golden crown. And I think it was Kalamu, Yasalam, who wrote an article after the celebration, and in that article he said how beautiful it was to hear the sacred songs of a Christian mass juxtapositioned against the sacred chants of the Indians. It is the way we celebrate people's lives, with joy, with dancing, with singing, and with specific funerary rites. Right. It might look like chaos to y'all, but it's not chaos. There's an order to it, and we carry that with us. So I'm going to stop my talk, and I'm going to ask Dr. Rosalind Smith to come to the stage and facilitate the next part of our program, and then we're going to do questions and answers. And one selection at the end, if we have time.
Can you all hear me clearly in the back? Yes.
Yeah, we give her one. Yeah.
She,
I'm not going to be any taller if I'm young. Let me just introduce myself quickly. I have known Cherice Harrison-Nelson since the early 1990s. She came to the school where I was principal as a young teacher. And with her came the whole Harrison family, including her mother, her father, her brother, her sisters. Later on, a couple of her nephews were actually students. She brought her son, the whole world. And our children had the benefit of learning local history from her father, who taught history lessons. He would come there supposedly to talk about things during, say, Black History Month, and he would talk about cultural activities, but he gave those children much more than that. And eventually, while I was doing that for the children in our school, I didn't have a lot of interest personally until I got a grandson. And I realized that my grandson had to be a part of this culture that her father was talking about. And he's sleeping right there in that chair. You see him right there? That's what 12-year-olds do in the summer when they leave home. They stay up all night and sleep all day. Oh, now he's going to try to wake up like I wasn't sleeping. But anyway, we are going to have, Nick, if you have the certificates over there, they're on the chair, babe. Would you bring those up, please? And the Abel and Jefferson.
sleeping. Jefferson may have
he's
to,
okay. He's all right. He's
Jefferson
sleeping.
can do on his behalf.
Well, he had Dalcour anyway.
Okay.
And
well, that's
come
fine.
on. Yeah, they're going to come up.
Oh, no.
They're going to stay right there. Come on up. Jonah, come on. And give them the right ones with their name signed on it. Okay. Our boys are going to do a special presentation. They know that these elders give them gifts. They give them cultural gifts. And today, they are going to recognize those cultural gifts by simply sharing certificates of this appreciation from these important people in their lives. So we're going to start, Nick, with the elder. And even though they all said their names, I'm going to just add, if they can quickly, Cherice, add how long they have been participating in the society.
Hello, I am Niccolas Smith. Since I was about 3.
That's, really? You don't remember?
The Wild Man Nick. The Congo to Congo Square. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Papa Titos Sompa, the Republic of Congo. A discussion of Congolese drum rhythms and African retentions in contemporary Black Masking Indians traditions. Friday, June 30th, 2023, New Orleans Jazz Museum, New Orleans, Louisiana, presented by Niccolas G. Smith. Niccolas G. Smith, Young Guardians of the Flame Maroon Society.
Nicholas? And we have another certificate that we're going to get, because the mayor sent the certificate via Nicholas also, but go on, Noah.
My name is Noah Mora. I've been with Congo Kids for 5 years. The Congo to Congo Square. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Big Chief Clarence A. Dalcour. Creole Osceola Mardi Gras Indians. A discussion of the Congolese drum rhythms and African renditions in contemporary Black Masking Indians traditions. Friday, June 30th, 2023, New Orleans Jazz Museum, New Orleans, Louisiana, presented by Noah Mora.
I'll take it on his behalf, though.
So I'm not able, but this is for my little. For now, I am. The Congo to Congo Square. Certificate of Appreciation presented to Master Drummer Wesley Phillips, Mandingo Warriors, Spirit of Fayaya. A discussion of Congolese drum rhythms and African retentions in contemporary Black Masking Indians traditions. Friday, June 30th, 2023, New Orleans Jazz Museum, New Orleans, Louisiana, presented by my little brother, Abel Smith. Abel Smith, Sankofa Saturday Scholar. Oh, so now he's waking up.
And Jefferson. Be careful, end of the stage, you know how I get. And Abel, you can just, Jefferson, you can just say the name for the last one. You don't have to read it.
Oh, thank God. This is actually me. Presented by Jefferson Smith, Sankofa Saturday Scholar. To Master Drummer Baba Luther Gray.
And you do have the other certificate?
Yeah, it's, I think Miss Kate has it. But we're going to try to get to the questions, and then
Okay.
we can do it as a final
Okay.
thing when we do the song, the last song.
Okay, because we do have one.
Okay. Do we have any questions in the audience or comments? I can't see. Okay.
She's asking
well-
for the origin of second lining versus masking Indians.
Well, the second line, a social aid and pleasure club tradition, I'm not a member of that tradition, but it has roots in benevolent societies where groups of people of African descent who could not or did not, were able to participate in burial insurance and life insurance. They formed their own groups and were able to pay dues, and part of the dues was, for some groups, to have a celebratory procession with a brass band when they passed and became an ancestor for their life celebration. And the Indian tradition, as it is called most commonly, no one knows the exact origin of it. Because first of all, there were people who were melanated when the brothers, Iberville and Bienville, came to Louisiana, to this area. And Al Kennedy shared an article with me where it's noted that there was a group of darker skinned people and they were kind of warlike, like Maroons, when they arrived, and that was in the 1600s. So nobody knows, because how do you know in the notes of, in the 1800s, that state black people, Negroes, colored people were dressed as Indians? First of all, how do you know that was not their clothes? How do you know they were masking? People always, not as much now, because I have a reputation for telling people no, would tell me, I love your costume. I am not wearing a costume. These are my clothes. So how do you know when the mask began and when people were simply wearing their clothes? So my answer is, the difference is specifically coming out on Carnival in ceremonial attire, as opposed to, and it depends. If you're a YMO, the Young Men Olympia, they wear black and white gloves embroidered for their members when they pass. With us, in our tradition, we may come out with your suit on if the person has a high standing and you want to pay your respect like that. If you want to pay your respect at that level, you'll dress out for that person. So I know your fault. I mean, your.
So I just had a follow-up. So aren't both of those celebrating the African tradition?
I would, not being a member of the tradition, I would say yes, there are retentions that are manifested in contemporary ways. But then, there's always something you keep. Like, as an artist, you're in a constant state of evolution. You decide, for me, what it is that will be the constant. What's the evolution and what will be the constant? The constant for me, as I said, one of them is lipstick. I'll always have, I know, I'm vain, right? Will be lipstick, and I will always have my suits will always be narrative. They will always, always, always tell a story. My mother gave me the perfect thing, because I didn't have time to cover myself in beads, and there's a lot of me. She told me to approach my art as a minimalist. And that's what I do, to tell more with less. So every little charm, everything you see on my suit, the colors, everything means something. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
Any other questions?
This young man.
Yes, my name is John, and I am visiting again New Orleans from Nashville. In November of 2021, I visited New Orleans for the first time during a 2-week period, and was invited by a local person to Lois Nelson Andrews' funeral.
Oh, yes, Lois. Lois?
And I attended that funeral, which was my first time ever in my life, and it was a profound experience, needless to say. My skin is starting to already. And one of the things I witnessed that day was the act of dancing on top of the
Casket.
by, I believe, her grandson, Trombone Shorty. And
That's her son.
I'm sorry, grandson.
Her son.
That's her son.
It's her son. He's just
My apologies.
young.
So my question is, what is the significance of that in the traditions that you're speaking of?
It is a profound expression of grief. Lois was my friend. She called me cousin. Her children, Trombone Shorty and James, both played at my daddy's funeral. Our families are friends. Our families are friends, and they're going through a tragedy now. One of the members of the family was tragically killed a few days ago. He was 18 years old, just graduated from school with AIDS. But Lois's son was also a victim of violence. And of course, no mother, and I can't speak for her, but I'm sure she had profound grief. And her expression of her grief was just as deep as it was to celebrate his life. And she actually danced on his coffin. And she is kind of the person that, yeah, I don't, it's hard to say first, but one of the first that I know of personally. But people have done that, and she was kind of the person that really made that, you know, known. And she was a member of the Money Wasters Social and Pleasure Club. And they also will do that for members of that particular social aid and pleasure club. And it's just a small city. And this is, my uncle would love it. He's not here, he's an ancestor, but my uncle was a member of the Money Wasters Club. And so the Money Wasters have their annual parade with their attire on, with the procession. And when he was the king, because you're a money waster, you're supposed to show you waste money. So what my uncle did to show that he was the biggest money waster ever, my Uncle Edwin rented a helicopter and threw money all over the city of New Orleans. So I think he won. My mother has a comment. Oh yeah, my cousin Papa. Papa, while you're standing, because I think people sometimes forget that they say the Indians, they say some things that are not nice about the Indians. But when did you start masking? Do you remember how old you were? 4.
Said about 4.
And Donald probably was 2 or 3. And what was that like? Can you come up and take a mic? Come up.
While he's coming up, if anybody wants to pass a hat, his inheritance went out that helicopter years ago, so if he doesn't have it, don't ask him. Yeah.
Here you go. Oh, you got one.
Hi, and welcome to New Orleans, those of you who are not from here. The experience of masking during the Mardi Gras Indian thing, you got to realize I was a little child and things were quite different then.
I want you to talk about the joy of it.
The joy of it?
Yes, and the joy of it and
The
the
joy of it.
father-son experience.
Yeah, well, watching him sewing and watching how his fingers were all cut up from pushing those needles, it showed me that this was really important to our heritage. And being with your dad, Big Chief Donald Harrison, he was God to me. There was no one that could ever be as great as he was in my eyesight, because those guys would listen. He would give them orders on the streets as we paraded, and with signals with his staff, and they knew exactly what he wanted and where he wanted them to be and what they wanted, what they were supposed to do. It was quite an experience. You have to be there. This is something you can't just vocalize and get. You have to actually live it, and these young people are going to live it. They're starting early, and that's it.
Thank you, Papa. They're giving us a time. Well, he's getting emotional.
The memories are coming back, and it's fantastic. It's a fantastic thing, and it makes you proud of who you are. It makes you know who you are, what you stand for. The spirit that comes in, that feeling, it's indescribable. I'm sorry.
So our time is, thank you, Papa, and I know Uncle Edwin would be very touched that you are touched, and my daddy would too. We're gonna ask Papa to just give us a final song, and I ask Luther to, well, maybe join in with him. And quickly, we just want to give this to Papa, because we have 2 minutes left. So we're going to hand it to him, and he can talk to Niccolas and get a picture later with the presentation.
Important certificate from the mayor. Okay, that's what's important about this.
Papa, you're going to do a song for us. Hand me hold the certificate and let him do the song. Oh, yeah.
This song is about mothers, in Africa. Like Mama Mbiki was talking about the queens of Africa. And this song is about the mothers. Because one time my mother need to a life to herself, a time to herself. So the rest of the village take care of the children when she's gone. So this song is about that. It's called Mama Wele. Everybody say Mama Wele. I mean, the mother's gone. Hey, Mama Wele, Wele, say ya. And you say, say ya. Together. Hey, Mama Wele, Wele, say ya. Hey, Mama Wele, Wele, say ya. Then I say, Siri kuntela njelandie, ngati na mbongela mwana e. E mama wele wele say ae. E mama wele wele say ao. Siri kuntela njelandie, ngati na mbongela mwana e. Say, e mama wele wele. Singing it out. Hey mama, wele, wele. Now you sing the verse. Hey mama. Repeat after me. Hey mama. We're going to get it. Hey mama. Wele. Wele. Seya. Siri. Siri. Kuntera. Nje. Landi. Siri kuntela nje landie. One. Siri kuntela. Again. Let's sing together. Don't be scared.
Okay, Papa, we have less than 1 minute. We have less than 1 minute, Papa.
Siri kuntela nje landie. Ngati nambongela mwana ai. Beautiful. Hey mama wele wele say it together. Hey mama wele wele say it. Siri kuntela njelandie, ngati na mbongela mwana ai. Beautiful. Thank you.
So in closing, we would like to, if there's anyone from the museum wants to say something, because we kind of jumped the program and we didn't get our introduction beforehand. If not, we're going to conclude the program and let you know. You can speak to me if you want anyone wants a child. We have very limited, right, Papa? Yeah. Enrollment for Congo kids. We will have a fall and a spring session during Kwanzaa and one session leading up to the Jazz Fest. So with that, I want to again thank Congo kids, Noah Mora, Niccolas Smith, Abel, and Jefferson. Our panelists, Luther Gray, Papa Titos Sompa, Wesley Phillips, and my mother. Where is she? My mother in the back. I want to thank her. Without her, I would not be here. And to my parents, Dr. Smith, grandparent, Kate Herrera, and Megan. Oh my God, Megan makes it happen, y'all. Y'all just don't, everybody need a Megan in their life, but you can't have mine. Thank you. And yours truly, Cherice Harrison-Nelson, Maroon Queen Reese. Yeah, everybody need a Megan in their